GM trying to capitalize on the red-hot electric vehicle market with an all-new EV crossover. Let's get to Phil LeBeau, who's got all the details. Hey, Phil.
Hey, Melissa, this has been in the works for some time, and General Motors has made it clear Cadillac will be the brand that will lead all of its major technology push into electric vehicles over the next several years. So with that in mind, last night they gave us the first look, and here it is. The new Cadillac Lyriq, which is a mid-size crossover utility vehicle. This is pretty close to what it's going to look like when it ultimately comes out in a few years. When you look at the Lyriq, keep in mind that they're saying that the range will be at least 300 miles, and the inside has just phenomenal appearance in terms of what it will do with the heads-up display, the panel in the front of what they call the cockpit, behind the instrument panel, behind the steering wheel. It looks fantastic. But keep in mind, this is a vehicle that we will not see until 2022. That's because they have to build out the charging infrastructure around the country. They're not even saying, hey, we don't know exactly how much of a charge you're going to get, like with a quick charge, let's say over 20 or 30 minutes. But the goal here is to become much more competitive and ultimately beat Tesla. Yes, General Motors believes that it can beat Tesla. If they're going to do that, they better win in California. That is the #1 EV market in this country. Take a look at sales last year. We're just showing you brand sales here between Tesla and Cadillac. And when you compare the two, no comparison at all. That is Tesla's biggest market, and they're doing quite well there. There we go. 72,000 last year were sales of Teslas in California. Cadillac, a little over 11,000. They've got their work cut out for them, and certainly have their work cut out in terms of catching up to them when it comes to market cap. Tesla's market cap more than 7 times bigger than General Motors. And one other piece of EV-related news. You know, we've been talking about SPACs, Melissa. You've got Fisker, which is, about 3 weeks ago, there was a SPAC that was announced that Fisker will ultimately go public through. Well, today they announced that this car, the Ocean EV, will be built by Magna Steyr at Magna Steyr's facility over in Europe. We should be clear here. They did not announce that. Our sources tell us that. We reached out to the company. They say they have no comment at this time. But the bottom line is this, Melissa. Everybody wants to get into this EV space, but we're not going to see a big flurry of these vehicles for at least a couple of years.
Phil, thanks. Phil LeBeau. Bonwin, I'm not quite sure what the strategy is for releasing the specs of a cool-looking car that won't be on the market at all until 2022. I don't know if people are going to hold off and say, hey, I'm going to wait for that Cadillac Lyriq and not buy my Tesla because the Lyriq's going to come out in 2022. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Patience is a virtue, but not when you have somewhere to be. So, listen, conceptually, I do think it makes sense for Cadillac. They've been trying to shift their demographic for years now. I think they've had a storied past of being a large, boxy car. You think of an older generation, and they've gradually, and tipping my cap to them, they've gradually shifted that demographic. But that's just it. It's a concept. We're talking about latter half of 2022. What does the consumer demand look like? What does their infrastructure look like? And then what other technological developments have been made by Tesla and other competitors by the time they're actually able to bring this thing to market? I also thought it was interesting that they had already pegged the price in the $70,000 range. We don't know if that's really going to be an applicable price point 2 years out. So again, I think it's a great headline, attention grabber, nice in concept.